wonder, what do people... All right, this was a mistake. Okay, hold on. So, these are my two beautiful kids. What's your name? Riel, what's your name?
Liam.
Huh?
Liam,
that's right. Riel, how old are you?
5.
How old are you, Liam?
3.
3 years old, okay. They have been incredible in the midst of everything that's happened. And you might wonder, what do people... All right, this was a mistake. What do families in New York City do when they don't have a backyard and they are planting in the middle of a pandemic? How do they get their kids out? I'll tell you what we have. A trampoline, and we have a slide. Rinse and repeat for over a year. On March 1st, 2020, we launched New Hope Church.
Except it was 2 weeks
Yes.
before our city shut down because of the pandemic.
COVID hit.
As if church planting isn't hard enough.
We immediately went into the mode of like, okay, then what's next? What can we do? How can we serve in the midst of this?
We didn't think it was going to last that long. We were going to kind of pull it together, do what we can, and we'll get through this. We'll support each other.
We decided to put care packages together for the elderly. But then I got COVID, and well, that just wouldn't work if we were giving these to the elderly and the stuff was exposed to someone who had COVID. And I gotta tell you, that was probably the low point for me. We were trying and praying that God would bless the work of our hands and that we would be able to reach people in the neighborhood. And when things were shut down, we said, okay, we're gonna try in other ways. How can we still be a blessing? And then when we weren't able to give these things away, it just, honestly, I just wanted to put my hands up and say like, well, I don't know what else to do. I just didn't understand, what was God doing? Why isn't he blessing this? And you heard our story. If you watched the last one, it's been such a long journey, and I was tired.
I know that we hit burnout last year and we had some pretty low moments.
I fell into some depression for about 2 months. I would sit in my chair and I'd weep for about 45 minutes straight.
It was hard to kind of wake up every day and acknowledge our limitations because we were so limited and try to meet the needs of those who were around us.
With all the loss, I mean, people lost jobs and they lost their lives and couldn't afford rent. People in our church hit really hard times, and we all knew someone or knew of someone who had died, or knew someone whose loved one had died.
New York was hit pretty hard, pretty fast. It became a really scary place to even like step outside your apartment. Would it be okay? Would you be safe? One of the things that was really probably difficult was dealing with the amount of suffering that we were surrounded by. The suffering in our church, our congregants, the suffering of our community, and the suffering even in our personal lives.
With all the loss, I think there was a real loss of meaning for me. Like, I just didn't get it. And I didn't know how to get myself out of that.
We were carrying a lot. And I know collectively everyone was trying to figure out how to deal with this. Loss of life, loss of predictability. How do you build resilience during this season? How do you care for yourself? How do, as pastors and leaders, how do you care for your congregation during this time? How do you reduce anxiety? How do you mitigate depression? We were trying to watch and read everything that we could to try to get on top of it. And the reality was we couldn't.
I would be fine, and then out of nowhere, just a sense of meaninglessness in what we were doing.
This was uncharted waters. No one knew how to get through this season in a way that you would walk away unscathed.
I thank God that he gave me relationships and people that I could talk to. So I talked to my wife about it. I talked to my friends about it, other pastor friends that I have in the city, friends of mine from back home. And so I was always inviting people into that, not like keeping my emotions to myself. I was trying to talk to others about processing this stuff.
We had to really lean into God and depend on him.
My wife, in June, she gave me an early Father's Day gift. Let me get away for about two days, where I got to be with God, and that was the only agenda. Just be with God. Sorry. You know, they say like you should be married to your mission, but date your methods, right? And I think I loved the methods of ministry, and I loved it so much that when I wasn't able to do what we were doing before, it was just just a real sense of meaninglessness. But in that time with God, I just felt like He really reoriented my loves again. I was reading a book by James K.A. Smith called On the Road with Augustine. And there's a famous line of Augustine that is well known is, our hearts are restless until it finds its rest in thee. The heart rests in what it loves, and it's trying to land somewhere. And I realized I was trying to land in going viral as a church, in church growth, in church metrics, and I was trying to land in a particular kind of fruitfulness in our church. And when my heart couldn't land there anymore, that's why I felt and experienced a sense of meaninglessness. But I needed those 2 days to rest in the one who first loved me and gave Himself for me, and find my worth and my identity and my sense of belonging in Him. I came back home with a sense of vitality. I was invigorated. I became wholehearted again. You know, I was half-hearted before, half-heartedly doing sermons online, half-heartedly pastoring, half-heartedly trying to get our church together. But I came back and I was wholehearted in what I was doing. And we used to try to plan everything out months in advance, but we started to just do things by quarter. Like, all right, what's going on for the next 3 months? What is our plan? And adjust accordingly. We were spending about $5,000 a month on our Sunday morning operational expenses, and we decided to take that money, save a third, invest a third into the neighborhood, what needs could we meet, and a third for our benevolence. And as we continue to pour more of our resources and effort and energies into serving our church's needs and the neighborhood's needs, God continued to expand us even more. He continued to bless us in that way and strengthen our small infant church plan to help local businesses, to partner with them, to help essential workers.
We were able to birth the food pantry to provide food for those who are suffering in our community, to see the church step up in a way that we did not foresee. It was beautiful.
They say when it comes to church planning, you got to have the right people on the bus. God blessed me with an incredible team.
Our team has gotten closer. Relationships have been formed.
I mean, they were ready and willing to shift on a dime.
It was a lot of winging it.
And whenever we went to fully online, they shifted. When we went to home groups and we started to meet in home groups again, they shifted.
I love how Jason led us with just a lot of flexibility. He's like, we're going to try this, and if it doesn't work, we'll pivot. And with that, our team became very flexible because it was all unknown and uncertain. And so because all of it was new, there was just a sense of grace there. It removed pressure from things needing to be perfect or needing to succeed.
I would never have thought in New York City, like people gathering in an apartment. That was our plan. We were going to meet in apartments where space was conducive to social distancing and being able to gather in a safe way. People were going to watch the pre-recorded service together and encourage one another in that space.
We finally found something that fits our church for right now.
COVID had a way of resetting our imaginations on how churches could gather and what it means to be the church gathered in a place together again. And I'm grateful to God for that.
We're still processing what that year was like for us, but it definitely wasn't what we imagined and envisioned when we thought we were going to plant this church.
It's not what I expected, and I grieve that. But I can't stay there, because Jesus is building His church. All right, Mom, so how long have you been cooking Indian food, or as you grew up calling it, just food? So it's Wednesday, about 5:30 in the morning, and I'm going to an apartment where we record the sermon. Hi, this is Shakeen Marjan. She is our community care director for our food pantry.